Good evening, everyone. Very nice to meet you all. At the beginning, let me thank the supporters of Canadian Peace Alliance and Ottawa Peace Assembly who invited me here and organized this event and gave me this opportunity to talk on behalf of the suffering Afghan women and share with you the awful problems and tragedies that we are facing under the US and NATO occupation and the brutalities of the Islamic fundamentalists. I was on a tour speaking to Canada around 1 year ago. I talked about the ongoing tragedy of my country and the game of the US and its allies that play with the destiny of our suffering nation. After 1 year, I'm sorry that I don't have anything positive and hopeful about Afghanistan to share with you right now. Unfortunately, what I had predicted seems to be realized with a deeper disaster today, and the conditions of Afghanistan go from worse to worse. Since the implementation of the so-called new strategy of Obama in Afghanistan, the outcome is bloody for our people, and many know that he is a second and more dangerous Bush for our country. During my visit to the United States during the presidential election, I remember even some of my supporters who supported my message against the war. They were telling me that no, President Obama was really a good person, and they didn't agree with me. And I explained to them about wrong policy of Barack Obama, and they were telling me that it's too early that you talk about him, and when he took office, we will see what he will do after that. But as we follow his foreign policy, the sad truth is that he is just a warmonger. Even his foreign policy regarding my country is more awful than even criminal Bush, more dangerous. Why? Because first he surged more troops in Afghanistan because more troops will increase more disaster as we experience, and also he expanding war in Afghanistan, in Iraq, Pakistan, and Yemen. He's trying to negotiate with terrorist person like Gulbuddin Hekmatyar, who his name is in the blacklist of the US, and also invite these terrorist Taliban to join the government. As maybe you hear that nowadays they have secret meeting and talking with Taliban, with these dinosaurs, want to make complete the circle of warlordism, drug lordism, terrorism in Afghanistan. So these terrorists have come in power, the situation will be more disaster, more bloody, especially for the women of my country. And I believe that their empty promise to my people that you also hear that they say in 2011 they will leave Afghanistan. Just I believe that they will not leave Afghanistan anytime soon, and just they want to deceive, first of all, the US people and other people around the world by making such lies. The US and its allies, they occupied my country under the banner of women's rights, human rights, and democracy, under the name of so-called war on terror, but today you see that they themselves are terrorizing Afghan people and have deep hidden deals with these terrorist groups, Taliban and also these warlords. The war on terror, I believe it's just a show, while in fact they have pushed Afghanistan and the whole region into a safe haven for terrorism. Taliban and also these other terrorist groups, they were not that powerful in 2001. Today, besides such groups, Afghanistan has been changed into a capital of the drug mafia, and US and its allies indirectly back them. Still, they support these drug lords. And the puppet regime of Hamid Karzai itself is full of these warlords, drug lords, and these criminals who are involved in war crimes, lootings, and drug dealings, and corruption. And billions of dollars, about $60 billion this 9 years, they donated to Afghanistan under the name of reconstruction of Afghanistan, widows, orphans, etc. But most of this money went into the pocket of these warlords, drug lords. And also, they are looting our internal incomes as well, these warlords. And day by day, the gap between rich and poor people getting wider and wider, unfortunately. In the so-called liberated Afghanistan, the situation of my people, especially condition of the women, day by day getting worse. Women's rights situation today as catastrophic as it was under the domination of Taliban. For example, rape cases, domestic violences, acid attacks, killing of women increasing rapidly, even historical in my country. Maybe you hear the story of Bibi Aisha that her nose and ears has been cut off by Taliban. But even they misuse from the miseries of our women. For example, maybe you hear the Time magazine that gave report and made the title that if the troops leave Afghanistan, what will happen to the woman? But nobody's talking instead that they must focus on this issue that after 2001 until now, the situation of the woman day by day getting worse. Even in most of provinces of Afghanistan, faraway provinces, it's like hell. We have jungle law today in our country. Tens of women, every day they commit suicide as the only option to get rid of their miseries. Even BBC gave report that the last year about 2,300 women, they commit suicide, while I believe the real statistic is more than that. In the Human Development Index, Afghanistan is ranked 181st out of 182 countries. According to UNICEF, Afghanistan is the worst place to be born, with 257 deaths per 1,000 live births. This is the UNICEF report. In the Corruption Index, Afghanistan is the second most corrupt country in the world. And also, Afghanistan is a top producer of the opium, as today 93% of opium produced from Afghanistan. So under the nose of tens of thousands of these foreign troops, today the most problem of our people is security that even we don't have in Kabul. And in faraway provinces, there not only people don't have security, now millions of people, they suffer from injustice, corruption, joblessness, poverty, etc. And we also, we Afghan don't expect freedom to be donated to our country by US, a country which itself is the biggest terrorist country in the world, I believe. If we see the history of the US since the Second World War, in countless countries they destroyed democratic government and brought in power and supported the dictators and oppressors there. I think Afghanistan and Iraq only the two last current example that they occupied these two countries and they are busy there for their own interest. They didn't come to bring positive changes in the life of our people or bring democracy, women's rights there. They are there after their own strategic, economic, and geopolitical interest in my country. That's why day by day they are trying to make, to expanding their military bases in our country. That's why day by day they are trying to unite the enemies of our people, this bunch of killers, looters, misogynists, terrorists, Taliban, and also the warlords, that will be easy for them first to eliminate democrats in Afghanistan, and also they are afraid from the resistance of our Afghan people as day by day increasing, and this is a big hope for the future of Afghanistan. Maybe you heard about the report of WikiLeaks recently that what we Afghan in the past, we Democrat and ordinary Afghan, we believe that this is not democracy. They occupied our country, they betrayed democracy, and they occupied Afghanistan under the banner of women's rights. Now WikiLeaks also exposed the wrong policy of their government. So, under the so-called democracy of the US, this donated democracy of the US, the election, presidential and parliamentary election were held in Afghanistan, which both of them was funny. And even international observers were speaking about widespread fraud. And no question, election is a main sign of democracy, but unfortunately in our country it became a toll to the hand of the US, NATO, and their puppet regime, as they want to give legitimacy to this mafia corrupt puppet regime of Hamid Karzai. Unfortunately, in the past, they betrayed the vote of our people, their decision, and again, now it has no role in this election. This was the one main reason that I didn't attend in this election, didn't run for this election, while from different parts of Afghanistan supporters, they called and they requested me to run again for this election. I believe election under the shadow of gang, warlordism, drug lordism, awful corruption in occupation forces has no legitimacy at all. As a famous saying, it's not important who is voting, it's important who is counting. That's the problem of our people. And most of these candidates, again, they were discredited known faces. Even some wanted criminals were running for this election. And our people want to show their hatred to these candidates, especially these wanted criminals. They threw red color ink on their pictures. It means that they have a bloody face and bloody hands. Which is funny that even one of these wanted criminals like Abdul Rab Rasul Sayab chose a bodyguard for his picture, for large pictures that while they spend millions of dollars as millions of Afghans, they don't have enough food to eat. Anyway, this election was just a show to deceive people around the world and to give legitimacy to their puppet regime. And that's why millions of Afghans, they did not attend in the election, and there was widespread fraud. Maybe you also hear through media. In our next parliament, future parliament will be more non-democratic, there will be more warlords, and as the head of the election commission is a famous warlord like Fazl Ahmad Manavi. It seems like to make rabbit have responsible of the carrot. So as they wish, they will count, and I'm sure that, again, they will make dirty the national house of our people by presence of these warlords, stragglers, and these criminals. If Canadian government, they bomb us like US government and these NATO governments, but we are happy that democratic-minded, justice-loving, peace-loving people of these countries, they support us and do not leave us alone. And I'm sure you agree with us that democracy never comes by cluster bomb, by white phosphorus, or by occupation, as they occupied Afghanistan. And they keep situation in danger like this to stay longer in Afghanistan because of their own strategy policies. Otherwise, nobody believed that a superpower country with 40 more countries, high military machine that they have, they are not able to make powerless these dirty-minded elements like Taliban, who created Taliban and destroyed the domination of the Taliban. But presence of Taliban there, as regarding report of Professor Mark Herald, this Democrat American man, that now Taliban control about 80% of Afghanistan. It's a very good excuse for US and NATO to be there, to deceive their people that we are there to fight against these terrorists, while this 9 years directly, indirectly, they supported Taliban. And now formally they invite Taliban to join the government. Not only they betray our people, I mean US government, NATO, Canada, your government, but they also betrayed their people as well. Why? Because they waste their taxpayer money in the blood of their soldier for a war in Afghanistan, which they, as day by day, they are bombing, killing civilians, and this civilian casualty, not only in Afghanistan, I'm sure around the world. It get caused that millions of people stand up against this war. But unfortunately, this is not only a military war in Afghanistan, it's a war of propaganda as well. Still, they betray the truth. If they say the truth, but they will face with the resistance of their people more. But now they are deceiving them. So now my people, they squashed between three powerful enemies, warlord, Taliban, and these occupation forces. And that's why we want the withdrawal of these occupation forces, because they give weapons and they give power, they give money, dollars to these terrorists. So it's better that they leave Afghanistan. This 9 years, they made powerful the warlords and now negotiating the Taliban. Then it's much easier for us to fight two enemies instead of three. That's the main reason that we want them to leave Afghanistan. And also they make harder our struggle against the warlord and Taliban, because day by day they are getting powerful and the life of Democrat and ordinary people getting more risky.